Papa
Got it.
Bear, David,
Hey.
Swickline. I cannot believe this is happening. My dreams are coming true. Here you are in your classroom. I
Yeah.
love that, by the way. That's the
My
best
fancy
background.
digs. Yeah.
I like it was the TV on the wall that gave it away, the yellow stripe. What
Yes.
is this? Whose classroom is this that you're in right now?
It's actually it's actually my classroom. I actually share it. I'm a school psychologist, so I share it with our military liaison. So the school district that I work for has quite a few military connected families. So she and I split the office, and I actually just moved in Tuesday was my official move-in day. I used to be stationed next to a bathroom of
Mm,
all places,
you
and it
moved
was
up.
I did. I moved up. I have air conditioning. I have beautiful windows,
Ooh,
a table, a wall-mounted 1990s
can't beat that.
TV with VCR.
What?
Yes, and it's
Did you have to
functional.
pay extra for that?
No, but I'm bringing Aladdin tomorrow to watch it
Oh, I think
on
everybody's
Friday.
got Aladdin VHS. Honestly, I could grab it after this podcast. So, for those of you that are actually listening to this, you can see this on YouTube and see exactly what we're talking about. But, David, why have you not decorated that yellow portion that I thought it was standard teacher procedure that, like, administrative procedure that you put up like happy fall, it's Christmas, hop into spring. What's going on?
If you look real close, the previous teacher, the way the sun has hit some of the artwork, you can still see like sweet work. So they must have been working on ice cream for the summertime or something. So there's just a nice facade on some of the bulletin board paper, but I'm not the creative one. So I'll honestly probably just let it be until someone says, "Hey, can I decorate this, or can we color on your whiteboard?" Please, yes,
See,
do that.
that's a great thing that the students could do. Now, do you think that being in the position that you are has made you such an extraordinary father of twins?
Extraordinary is a big word for me. I don't like to be. I think it has definitely allowed me a perspective that a lot of people don't have. A lot of men and a lot of fathers don't have, because I can see families functioning with and without men in their lives, and I
Mhm.
can also see a lot of children um, who crave and desire that male role model. Working in elementary schools, most of the time it's the PE teacher and the custodian who's and that's it. That's the only guy that you have. So having first and foremost that educational side of being a male role model, that has
Mhm.
definitely amped my game up to be dad for sure.
Oh, I love you so much. Okay, now, because I really do. I mean, honestly, I knew the moment that we met that it was going to be music that we make together in the books of twin parenting. So you just know when somebody has good instincts and is going to have that patience that you need to be a father. Like, not everybody has it. Let's be honest, David. Not everybody was born to say, like, yes, I want to have kids, let alone twins. There are definitely men that are in this world that are like, no, thank you. I'm just going to have my scotch on the rocks in the waiting room while you deliver our
Smoking my
children.
stogie, yeah.
Back in the
Right.
day. What do you think that being a parent of twins has actually done to change your outlook on being a man in general?
Oh, twins specifically, huh? Hmm. That's to change my outlook on how I'm raising my children. How has having twins really changed that? So when my wife and I first found out we were pregnant, we went through a longer journey than typical for some. We had to go through some infertility treatments and things. My wife was such a soldier for that. Oh my gosh, Leanne worked so hard to have these babies, and when we found out we were having babies, I kind of said I knew it. Um, and she was like, "No way." I said, "Oh no, babies." I kind of knew we were having babies. And I was just from day one, like, let's go, double the pleasure, double the fun. Like,
Yeah.
let's get at it. Two of everything, two times the joy, two times all of that thing. So I think really it has just, again, made me a better parent by, if I make a mistake with one, I know not to do it with the other.
True.
And it also has helped me learn to be a parent so much faster, because you're doing everything twice. Two bottles at night, two diapers, 2 sets of clothes, 4 socks, 2 car seats, 2 everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I think singleton parents and probably fathers in general probably kind of get bored. And as being a man, I can see, I mean, if it's a simple task, like it's kind of boring for us, but I look at it as a challenge. How fast can I get this accomplished? How little screaming and how much thrashing around on the diaper changing station can I get? Or how many laughs can I get while I'm doing it? I look at it as a game and a challenge for me. Um, when they were still getting a bottle in the night, Leanne was still pumping. She breastfed the whole way. I'm telling you, a trooper. But it was like, how fast can I get these boys fed, changed, and back asleep? That was my goal. Like, if I could do that faster than she would have to get up and pump, it was a great night. Like, I loved it.
That's fantastic, which could be like 20 minutes.
The fastest I did it was actually like 28. Not that I was keeping record, but
I love
it
that.
was phenomenal. And I think I think if you approach it as a challenge, I think anything in life, if you approach it as a challenge that's doable with the right supports around you, it brings you so much joy when you actually do accomplish it.
Well, that's funny because I was actually just going to literally use that word joy, but it's like you made it okay. It wasn't aggravating to get up. You're like, okay, this is my mission. I choose to accept. I'm going to conquer this.
Yes.
So you conquered everything. And have you always done that though? As like a little boy, were you always kind of like a conqueror, or is this just the parenting skill that you're adapting so that you survive?
So my mom will tell you that I have a mind of my own. Like, I'll ask people's opinions, but it doesn't matter. I'm doing it my way. But I'm also a planner to no end. I will think things through 5, 10, 15, 20 times and have a plan A for plan B. I just go right down the line. So I try to always be prepared. I think that has helped me. But growing up, my family was very much a servant family, making sure, taking care of those who need to be taken care of. In our household, from the time I was born, an uncle lived with us who was both blind and deaf. And as a young child, you have to put things in its place so Uncle Bugs doesn't trip on things. So he knows when he reaches into the refrigerator, there's his sandwiches and not dog food, or there's his juice and not milk, or whatever it is. So I think a lot of that played into it. And then getting into college and graduate school, I worked for a daycare center because they were hiring and I needed a flexible job that had the right hours, and that won the lottery for me. So not knowing it at the time, but all of those previous experiences and my personality, and my wife, specifically mostly my wife, who has pushed me to the bounds because I see her dedication. It's like, I need to match that. And Leanne's my primary motivation. She really is.
Oh my God, that's so sweet. How did that stay? Like, if you've gone through this, right? So you've been around the block, 14 months you're in. How have you not secretly planned each other's deaths?
We probably have at some point or another, but it's also just like the people around us and the joy. And I think for those who have experienced infertility, and that's not to say every case is the same and every case is different and every person's journey is different. But when you crave and want something and it's given to you, or, the children are given to you, and you are chosen to be their mom and dad, there's nothing like, that's the joy, that's the happiness, that's the moment that you kind of live for. And all those bad times are temporary. It may seem like in the moment that sleep regression, or what am I doing after I just got home from the hospital with 2 of these babies? How am I going to survive? That only lasts for months, minutes, seconds sometimes, before you're on to the next big milestone and your kids are smiling at you. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't make it. And then they sit up, and then they stay sitting up, and then they crawl. And it's just all these little things, these developmental milestones that they're hitting, just for me, because I know what that means cognitively for them. But that's what, that's how I've started to measure it. It's just these little bits, not
Yeah.
these big bits.
Now, do you have friends in your network, whether it's personal, work, or whatever, that there's been men in your circle that have had kids and you just watch that they are not taking to it?
My hesitation says yes.
So now what do you, what, I know that that even happens with moms though, David. Like honestly, like sometimes we meet moms, especially here in like the city, like I'll meet like very corporate moms and they're just like, oh, I can't believe this. And I'm like, what did you think it was going to be? Have you not watched television ever? Like, did you not see what
Yeah.
this was? But there's a piece of me that feels really sad for them because, well, I
Mhm.
know that I always assume that it's usually coming from fear or like just the fear of like taking the chance and failing or taking the chance and not, there's so much into it. So I always look at it that it comes from fear when it comes to women. Do
Yeah.
you, when you see other guys that aren't kind of like rolling up their sleeves and getting in there, be it diaper changes, middle of the night feeds, what do you think is preventing people from kind of jumping in with 2 feet?
Part of me wants to say that old school mentality of I'm the breadwinner, or
Mhm.
the older way of thinking that, okay, this is mom's responsibility.
Yeah.
And that may work for some families. And I give those families so much credit. Those women who are able to take it all on at once, without a partner who's able to be, specifically like those moms with military spouses.
Hmm.
They don't have a choice. So they just have to do it.
Yep.
And I'm sure those dads would love to be in the trenches with their moms. But maybe for the men out there who are choosing or maybe aren't as enthusiastic about the diaper changes and things like that, I think it makes a better marriage. And I think when you approach it from that way, that your marriage will be better because you're participating more. You're getting more of your wife because your wife would then have more time with you.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's probably not the perspective that a lot of men take. They just say, okay, they're a baby. If especially if they're breastfeeding, like mom's the only one that can solve this problem.
Yes.
Here you go. And two, a lot of men, I don't know any other guy that worked at a daycare center for 5 years.
Truth.
You know, I
You're
was
a special
one of
breed.
I was one of 5 men in my school psychology classes in graduate school, and there wasn't a lot of males going into education at the time. So so that might be it too. Their blue collar or their white collar experiences in school and college just don't allow them to know
Mhm.
how important it is. And so it might be ignorance of all things.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
There's a lot that goes into it. And I assume that dads are nervous too. They don't know what to do. They don't want to step on, mom's toes and feel like,
Hmm.
oh, I know better than you. And so they always let kind of the woman take the lead and say, here's what has to happen. Now, I've noticed that since the pandemic, unfortunately, I have seen like this trend in some health issues that are coming up with postpartum women. And
Hmm.
what I've also noticed, and I don't know if it's COVID, I have no idea what it is, but of course, nobody at the CDC wants to listen to me. But I've noticed, like, I honestly, just to call it out, I've noticed a higher incidence of postpartum preeclampsia after delivery. And now what happens is the mom's got to go back into the hospital, unfortunately, and everybody's okay. So the listeners need not worry, but it is something
Hmm.
that you should be watching out for. But dads have to then, they have no choice but to jump in with 2 feet
Yeah.
and kind of get the job done. And so they are taking the lead. And I've never seen somebody not step up if they have to step up. Do you think that maybe if moms stepped back so that dads could step up, it might be more beneficial for them?
I wrote down, and now this is coming from my wife's and I's relationship. I want people to know that I don't think this is the way it should be. Whatever works for your family works for your family. But my wife and I work best when Leanne has a leader, when she has someone that says, this is the plan, this is
Mhm.
what we're going for. We're both in it together. We're next to one another. I'm going to push, pull, drag you to this goal if that's our goal, our common goal. Whatever it takes for us to get there. So Leanne needs that leader. And I think if more women take a step back, like you were saying, and say, please help me, guide me through this. I think as a man, I would want that. I would want a woman to say, my wife to say to me, I need you to guide me through this. I need your help through this. I think that's a very important relationship topic and a relationship building activity that people should be doing pre, post, all of it, during twinning, you know, it has to be done.
I feel you on that. And I get like, I'm upset that people don't pay enough attention to that. So like, honestly, like in our classes now, we've changed things a little bit because I've noticed that like during the pandemic, everybody was stepping up. Like before we started recording, I told you that I noticed dads, everybody was in. It was like all in. There was nobody around. They were just all in to help their kids. So I'm like, that's interesting because that hasn't been happening for the past 10 years at Twiniversity. And then everybody pitched in. And now that everything's back to normal, people are kind of going back to normal. And I'm like, no, could we just go back? Could we keep that one piece of the pandemic where dads like jumped in and mother-in-laws didn't interfere and moms didn't interfere? Everybody just let them do it. And it was so liberating for the men that got to experience that, where other guys, I think, would say, oh, I wouldn't want that. That's my guy voice. Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen. That's also the voice I do for my husband, but he doesn't really sound like that. But now I think that like, because you had that, yes, you would have been like that naturally, or like out of the gate, you would have been that type of dad, but you really didn't have a choice. So maybe Leanne actually modified the way that she might've done things because she knew you were going to be there.
Yeah. And she says that quite a bit, but getting back to your point about post pandemic, I wonder too, how much of the distractibility of our world has taken back the man, so to speak, you know, like has taken back over control. So much of our society and so much of our big things are to pull men's attention, you know, to sports, you name it, like all of that a lot of times is taking that man, the male, excuse me, out of the equation sometimes. And it's by design, not by design, but it's part of our society. Like men are supposed to be the CEOs, men are supposed to be on the football field or whatever, as a part of that. And I think as a consequence, once we got back to normal, quote unquote normal, the guys had to go back to that role and responsibility. There wasn't a choice, or else it was find a new job. I don't know.
I'm saddened by it. I would love for every dad to have the opportunity. So like I like was such a daddy's girl. It's like disgusting. That's
I'm glad
like
I didn't have a girl.
Oh, you really should be, because it would be very bad for you.
I'm still fearful of if we ever have a girl. I
warn you now, you should literally just whatever you have, just give it to her. Just give it all to her.
And then I'm going to go buy it again and give her new stuff as well. So.
But that's not a bad thing. I love that, but I loved having that male influence in my life. And you can only really evaluate that as an adult, right? As a kid, I just knew that I loved my dad and that my dad was awesome. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, like I can look at it back and say how great that was to have my dad so available. And I think about things that he did that played such a big role in me and my sister's lives. When I just thought that my dad was taking us to the park on Sundays, I never thought it was because he was giving my mom a break. Like, you know, like I never thought about it on that side. And then he never did it like begrudgingly. He was always all in. We went on these weird like city adventures. And sometimes he didn't get home till 3:30 the night before. He would take us out in the morning, because he had 700,000 jobs to support us. Like legit, he really had like 6 jobs, my poor dad. So I loved having that. And I really wanted that for my kids. And I know that you automatically were going to be like that. But I still I worry about the dads that are afraid to kind of get their hands dirty in fear that they're never going to realize that their daughter or their son might be telling that story someday.
Yeah. Well, you use the words opportunity, and I had an opportunity to be able to do that. You know, I had time saved up. I I had a flexible school schedule. I had built-in holidays throughout my break. So I had the opportunity to spend the first 9-10 weeks with Leanne and the boys. And then every Christmas I get 2 weeks at least off. Every summertime I'm off. The school schedule is a beautiful thing.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Education is definitely has its perks. But getting back to the opportunity to serve your family, a lot of men don't have that opportunity. They have to be the hustler, the bustler that has the side jobs on top of the jobs on top of the jobs. Yes, I don't know how you could weigh or show someone how important that time is until it's already gone. Unless they have a family member or a personal experience that they can really reflect back on. Yeah, I often think of my dad. He was at some of my sporting events. He was at some of my things, but that was because of his job. But his dad wasn't at any. So he did better than his dad. And if I can do better than my dad, and then they can do better than me, it takes 4 or 5 generations, but the goal ultimately, is to have that experience with your dad, whether it be a football game that you're going to watch, but I have so many memories with just dad, like just dad. At the time it was just dad, but now looking back on it, it was that quality time, and that is my love language, is that quality time. So I cherish those times now because I have those memories of that quality time.
All right, David, sit right there. We're taking a break for 2 seconds, and then I want to come back and I really want to talk about, when did you realize you were a dad? Because that's always a good one. All right, so sit right there. We'll be right back. Was it the pregnancy that made you realize that you were going to be a dad? Was it when you held them for the first time? Was it the first time they peed in your face? What was it that said, this is the marker, it's official, I'm a father?
I'm a father, I'm a dad. I sometimes still don't think I am. Like, I think sometimes I just have 2 friends at home that I can go and play with. Because I do. I made like a cardboard box the other day. My mom was like, "You're still a child." I was in it with them, but it was whatever. The day. Oh, I can't like put a specific time on it or, calendar date, but it would have to be right after the first Christmas. Right at, Leanne and I had our hopes up. We had the kids in pajamas and it was going to be the best first Christmas. Everyone got sick, and not just sick, like sick, like whether it was COVID or not, who knows, but we just were ill, and they had to do blood tests on the boys to make sure, okay, what kind of infection is it, and I remember holding one of Joseph, now he was in the NICU he and I were in the NICU. Our twins had to be separated because we gave birth at a small regional hospital, and they couldn't accommodate Joey, who is twin A. They couldn't accommodate his breathing needs, so they had to send him to a NICU, and I went with him. So Leanne and I were separated for 3 to 4 days, and Joey and Sal were separated for 3 to 4 days. So I was really with Joey. But getting back to when I was dad, I think it would have been that time in the doctor's office where they were crying, but I was able to finally, I comforted, it was that moment of security for them, that they're finally cuddling up into me, and that you could really tell they do feel safe, that you are their rock, or whatever you want to call it, that they felt at home on me or with me. I think that's going to be the defining moment when I look back and say, okay, yeah, this was when you turned dad.
Oh, I can't handle you. I can't take it, David. You're too sweet. Oh, you're making me a mush, because it's so nice that you had a minute to you could actually realize what was happening. So many people move so fast that they're not actually absorbing the things that are going on around them.
I'm slow. I drive slow. I do things, but it's just That's just who I'm very patient. I'm very slow. So I do have those opportunities to reflect and think of. And yeah.
It's great. I want to take a page out of
Don't
your book.
don't
That's
use
it.
that audio bite for anything like I'm slow. Don't use that, please.
That's going to be the title of this episode. That's it. That's
The
what
slow
it's going to
twin
be.
dad,
Slow
Mr. and
twin
Mrs.
dad.
Slowski. Here I am.
I love it. But I
Move
think
as
that
fast
like
as a turtle.
because you do move slower and you absorb more, it's what makes you a good person to be with these kids in school and a good partner to be at home. And you could really take it in. And when we asked you, we're like, what are the 3 things that you wanted like to tell everybody? It's like surround yourself with good people. You're one of the good people.
Well, thank you. I'm just a people. I'm not a good person. I'm just a
Please,
people.
you are. Thank God. And honestly, I've surrounded myself with good people, which is why you're here. Hello, let's just be honest. We're
But
not
it's
going to
so
have like
important,
the
right?
devil on our podcast
Yes.
today. But it
Yeah,
is. It
it's so
is.
important. And not just good people, just, oh, because they're fun to be around, but good people because if you needed a banana in a pinch or a cup of flour or whatever in a pinch, they'd bring you the whole bag.
Mhm.
They'd bring you the whole bunch. And good people that share your common goals, and not just feed you fluff because they know that's what you want you to hear. Whether they
Yeah.
want you to succeed or not is important, but also that they're straight shooters and being honest with you. Those are good
Yeah.
people.
So what do you think? Like, how could we get twin dads to slow down, to appreciate what's before them, to not be afraid? This is my tall order, to not be
Yeah.
afraid to like jump in so that they don't miss the experiences that they might otherwise.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and
Go.
I'm gonna say, get a video camera, not your phone, not anything fancy. Go get a video camera. My dad bought us a video camera before the kids were born, and credit to him, we use that blessed thing every other day, and that has been what has helped us make good memories and bad memories. I mean, we recorded the hospital stay, we recorded prior to, before, during, after birth, all of those things. Not before, during birth, that didn't happen. But and it slowed us down. Got to find the video camera, got to find this thing, rather than just pulling out your phone and taking a quick picture or something.
Mhm.
You're intentional when you have a video camera. You're zooming around, looking at everything, not just taking a quick snapshot, whatever's in that frame of focus. That would definitely be one of my recommendations. And also just trying to like disconnect from things, whether that, give up football for a season, give up baseball for a season. You can listen to it if you want to when the kids go to bed, or read this quick reports. And I hate to just zoom in on sports, but a lot of times that's what pulls us away from our family, is Sunday football or Saturday college games or baseball. Fishing, hunting, same thing. Like, don't go one Saturday. Don't go and intentionally just be there. I think that's the biggest thing, is your intentionality of being in the moment, and with your partner, with your kids, doing whatever, just intentionally being there. I think if anyone can do that, male or female, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, is just be there for that, whatever it is. If it's for the birthday party, be there for the birthday party, not for the cake, not for the sides, for the birthday.
It's really the truth. It's the whole experience. It's really tough though. I mean, I'm going to say, even me, I am guilty of sometimes things going too fast.
Yeah.
And I could look back, right? I could look back on 17 years. My kid's going to be 18 any second. And I could say,
They
happened?
were 3 years older when I read that book. I think they were babies when I
It's been
read
a
your
minute.
book.
They were babies when I started writing the book. I think it took me 11 years. 11 years to write that. But my little babies, and maybe there was like, I updated it, maybe it was 7. I don't really remember now, but I know that it goes by so quickly. And I have a reminder on my phone that says, take a picture with the twins. And it comes up every 30 days. It has been coming up for years.
That's
Ask
a
me
great
how
idea.
many times I've actually done it though.
Not now. I'm busy.
That's it. It's, or I wasn't home with them. And
Yeah.
now that they're so big, they're too busy for me.
Uh-huh.
And I can't be mad at that because I raised good kids that are independent and want to live a
Yep.
good life. So that's
Yeah.
actually, I'm not a mom that's sitting here going, oh, my babies. I'm like,
Ugh.
yes, go get it. Get out there, go
Yes.
take your piece of whatever it is that you want. Go, that it makes me so happy. It makes me feel like a successful parent, but I can't take the picture with them because they're not next to me anymore. And
Yeah.
I wish people would slow down, and whether it's the video camera, which I think is a great idea, or just having some kind of reminder that pops up, even if it annoys you. But to me
Yeah.
now, that reminder is, where did time go? Because it's
Yeah.
been like 20 minutes since they've been born. That's all that it feels like. I don't
Yeah.
feel almost 20 years older. I feel
Uh-huh.
exactly the same that I did when they were born. Luckily,
Yeah.
lucky for me, they haven't taken that much
Time
of a toll
stops,
on me.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the practices that Leanne and I got into early on, and because it was so tough, you know, because we were in those first 3 months are brutal.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't have your kids yet, or I'm sorry, but real talk, it's brutal. Especially if it's your first time parent, you have no idea what you're doing. Like we didn't. I mean, we were putting our kids to bed hungry because we thought, okay, well, the doctor told you 2 ounces. That's what you get. See you, bye.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know. So, but what we started to do was when we felt like it was getting to be too much, we stopped, we got out our phones, and we went back to the beginning. We went back to the last picture we had when Leanne was pregnant. Then we went to the hospital, and we just went through visually. That's where we were. This is where we went, and here we are now. And at the time, whatever picture you're looking at, we weren't going to make it. And look, we made it. You know, at the time, we were ready to throw in the towel. We were ready to put the kids out on the deck and let the coyotes eat them. You know what I mean? But looking back, that's what got us through. That's another way to slow yourself down, is in the moment when you are panicking.
Mm-hmm.
Go look where you were. Like we said at the beginning, like it's not going to last forever. You've probably done it. You just don't realize you've done it. Go back and look and see where you were and see what can happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, David, I'm so glad that you took some time for me. I really, really mean it. And I also like that this is kind of going to be a time capsule for this time in their life, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I love that about this, like our podcast in general, because we're doing them now for a hot minute. I don't even know. This could be episode 280 million. I don't even know. But we're doing this so long that it's fun for parents who were on it to go back and be like, I remember that moment. And, you know, you're going to remember that yellow thing with the sun-stained, you know, sweet treat or whatever it is. And the Aladdin videotape. It's so nice to have a moment. So be it not everybody's going to be able to, unfortunately, play with me. I would love to, literally, I would email us community@twiniversity.com. But I like that this is even a moment for you to have in this little baby boy time capsule as a dad and as a twin family. And I'm genuinely very, very thankful for you and your wife, and just for being good parents and being willing to share. And not everybody does that. So thank you, David, for playing with me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving, not to take credit away from moms, but for giving a little bit of an opportunity for the dads to shout out too. Because I think sometimes maybe I didn't, but some dads maybe don't feel the appreciation from the communities, not necessarily their partners or their wives or their mother-in-laws or their fathers or whoever, but, you know, like, oh, just dad kind of thing. So I think it's important that we take a minute to say thank you, and to those who can't be dads as well, to make sure that we're recognizing, like, just because you don't have a baby doesn't mean you can't be a dad.
Amen. Oh, totally. Forget it. I could give you the list of people that are in our circle that didn't biologically have kids yet have 5, you know? So like, that's what it is. It's being a dad is not a genetic component. It is literally just being who you are and making sure that you want something great for the people in front of you. So you're great, David. I'm so happy that you did this. Thank you so much for playing with me today.
Thank you.
Yay. And so for those of you, if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with David too. We're going to make a collective hit on Leanne. So send Venmo to Twiniversity, and we're not really killing Leanne, by the way, guys. But David is great, and she's great for him, and they make a good team. And it's nice when I get to see that, and then you guys get to hear that, and you know that it can happen. This is a possible reality for you. You're gonna be okay. We promise. It might suck for a little bit, but there's going to be bumps in the road. But at the end of the day, you two are going to have 20-year-old twins. And it's what's the story that you want to have been told for that time. So that's why I was like, let's talk to David. Let's get his perspective on things, because I really do. I have a lot of respect for him as a dad, as a person, and I'm glad that he got to do this. So if you have questions for David, email us at community@twiniversity.com. You could slide into our DMs on any social platform. We're just at Twiniversity. And if you did not hate me or David, like and subscribe, because that's literally the way that the freaking algorithms of the universe get the word out. And so if we could help more people and feel okay about their own experiences, that's actually what that like and subscribe is. You don't have to like me. You could just like what we're doing. That would be awesome. And so until next time, guys, see you later, Alex.